On this week's episode of the Best of Johnston County podcast, our guest is Natasha Armstrong, the owner and founder of First Choice Home Care in Smithfield, North Carolina. We talked to her a little bit about the infusion services they offer, the IV services they offer where they can give you nutrients and help you with vitamin C and different types of things that you can get through an IV that you can't really get through oral care. We talk about the different home health services that they provide and the home care services they provide and the difference in how it's paid for between Medicare and Medicaid and the approximate cost of the different services that her company can provide. If you are somebody who is going to be in the market for home health or home care services in the near future or are currently in the market for it, I think you will find this interesting because not only do we get into what the services are, we get into how they're paid for and what the differences are and what these things can kind of cost and how you can start to budget for them as well. So I think there's a lot of good information here, and we've all got aging parents and we've all got people that we know that if they're not already into this situation where they're going to need these types of services, they're going to need these services in the future. And she answers a ton of questions. I learned a lot. I think you'll learn a lot as well.
Welcome to another episode of Best of Johnston County, brought to you by Breeden Law Office. Our host, Jonathan Breeden, an experienced family lawyer with a deep connection to the community, is ready to take you on a journey through the area that he has called home for over 20 years. Whether it's a deep dive into the love locals have for the county or unraveling the complexities of family law, Best of Johnston County presents an authentic slice of this unique community.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Best of Johnston County podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden, and on today's episode, we have Natasha Armstrong, the owner and founder of First Choice Home Care of Johnston County, and the website is jocohomecare.com. We're going to talk to her a little bit about both her businesses. She has a home care business and an infusion business. We're going to talk a little bit about the services that she provides, how these services are paid for, whether it's private pay or what Medicare or Medicaid may pay for those of y'all interested in home care services, because it's all great to me, but she's going to clear that up for us, and how her company can help you and your family as you move forward. But before we get to that, I'd like to ask you to follow, subscribe, like, whatever you want to do so that you're made aware of future episodes of the Best Johnston County podcast. The Best Johnston County podcast comes out every single Monday and has now for over 18 months. And we're well over 85 episodes now. And so it's going to be coming out. It's been coming out. Go back and listen to previous episodes. We've had almost every county commissioner. We had Congressman Brad Knott. We've had small business owners. And what we're trying to do here is promote Johnston County in a positive light and educate our viewers about the professionals and the providers in our community. There's no need to go to Raleigh to shop. Whatever you need, we have people that can provide those, including home care services. And that's what we're going to talk to Natasha about today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. I met you a few weeks ago through the Launch JOCO program, and that was fun. We did like a speed dating thing where we were trying to figure out, would the two would be a good match between the mentor and the mentees. And I found your story absolutely fascinating in the 6 minutes we got to spend together. And I thought, I got to get Natasha on this podcast. So anyway, tell the audience what's your name, what you do.
Hello, everyone. My name is Natasha Armstrong. I am a registered nurse, and I own First Choice Home Care and Infusion Services, Triangle IV Hydration and Wellness Services. We are located at 502 East Market Street, right downtown Smithfield, and we provide services to the elderly, anyone who needs home care services, and we also provide IV hydration services also.
All right, so let's start with IV hydration services. What is IV hydration services and who needs it?
Everyone needs IV hydration services. What IV hydration is, it's a way to get the vitamins that you need in your body daily into your bloodstream directly. Sometimes when we take pills orally, it takes a while to metabolize through your body and it's excreted out through the normal waste process. When you do an IV hydration, your body and your bloodstream gets the nutrients that you need immediately. And oftentimes you feel refreshed at that moment. I can give you more vitamins than you physically can take orally. And sometimes for people that may have issues with, an example would be vitamin deficiency, or people who may need more vitamins, for example, bariatric patients, or patients who want to lose weight, or patients who maybe have had a hangover or jet lag, or some of those common things. They need the nutrients in their body fast so that way they can feel refreshed, more energized, high metabolism, and they can function throughout the day to day. So it's a quicker way to introduce the fluids and the nutrients and the vitamins that your body could use.
So how often would you get that if you signed up for a regimen? Once a week, twice a week?
It's safe to take once weekly. I usually encourage people to do IV hydration once every 2 weeks. See how your body tolerates it, see how you feel. What happens first is we will give you a medical exam with a nurse practitioner to make sure your body can handle fluids all at one time. Make sure you're healthy enough to get the fluids and get the vitamins. And then once you're cleared by our nurse practitioner, then we can give you as many IV hydrations up to once weekly. We have them for different things. So like you may want to focus on energy. We have an IV hydration for energy. You may want to focus on getting more rest. You might have insomnia. So we have an IV hydration for insomnia. For our women who have cramps, menstrual cramps, PMS issues, menopause issues, we have an IV drip that's categorized for all of those symptoms that come along with that. You may want to take that 1 week. So the IV hydration is safe, but you are getting extra fluid into your body at one time. And it's easier because I can just give you an IV versus you drinking 500 cc's of water. No one can really sit there at one time and drink all that water. But if I give it to you through an IV, your cells get refreshed, your body gets refreshed, and it works faster.
So how long does it take?
It can take anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. Depending on your vein size, I will assess and give the vein, depending on what size your veins are, how big of a catheter I can use. And then I will give you the IV based on that.
Okay. So does insurance pay for this?
No, IV hydration is retail service, which means it has to come out of the client's personal funds. However, if you have a HSA or FSA card, it can be used as a wellness thing.
Okay.
So we can take FSA and HSA cards for wellness because it is a health wellness concept. I will give you a receipt, explain what services you provided, and you can send that for reimbursement for your HSA or FSA.
Oh, well, that's really good. A lot of people have HSA and FSAs now.
Exactly.
They're very, very common. I was just studying that as something we maybe start providing to our employees here, and I've gone down a rabbit hole. Like there's so many different providers and there's different rules, and I'm not going to do it until I understand it, but I am quickly learning about them, and I'm kind of looking forward to maybe having one myself. If I started for employees, I'll have one for myself.
Yeah, I think
so you get some money pre-tax that you can use to spend on health. All right, so that's one of the businesses, and that business is separate from First Choice Home Care.
Right. So with IV hydration, we also offer the vitamin injections and the weight loss services. So we offer the GLP-1 and 2s, and we also offer the vitamin injections. So earlier you mentioned, well, who can get the IV hydration? Well, the IV hydration is not good for people who maybe have heart conditions or kidney problems because it is a lot of fluid. But what these other population, they can do the vitamin injections. So let's say you have a vitamin D deficiency, or when cold and flu season comes, you have a vitamin C deficiency. I can give you an injection. It's not as much as an IV hydration, but it does give you enough vitamins that we can reach the same goal. You may just have to have an injection twice a week.
Okay. So what do you do with the GLP-1s and 2s?
Well, we have a nurse practitioner on staff, and they give you the weight loss injections for the weight loss. So it will be the Ozempic, the Zepbound, the Wegovy, all of those GLP-1s and 2s, the semaglutide and the tirzepatide. We have those on staff, and we have a nurse practitioner that can help customize a weight loss plan, and we can give the medicine to you at that time.
Okay. So y'all go to the patient's house, the patient come to your office in Smithfield?
Either way, we do have concierge services where we can go to the patient's home and service them for anything, IV hydration, vitamin injections, or weight loss. or they can come into the office as well.
Okay. Well, you got to meet people where they are.
Exactly.
And if you go back and listen to previous episodes of the Best Johnston County podcast, Wegovy and Ozempic are products of Novo Nordisk. It's going to be made right here in Johnston County when the new plant opens in 2027. So it's just kind of a small world we live in. There's no doubt. So, well, that's cool. I didn't know you provided those services. All right. So the home health, there's all kinds of things you do, home care. Mm-hmm. I know one of the things is the companion service, which I don't think people think about. But when I started reading the description of it, I thought, what a great idea. So talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, we also provide our home care companion respite services for patients who need some care at home. These patients may need help with bathing, dressing, going to the grocery store, or they may just need someone to sit with, read with. Oftentimes, these are patients who may have lost a spouse or their children are busy working and they don't have anyone there at home to talk with them, read with them, watch TV with them. We provide licensed nurse aides and personal care aides to help these patients with their companion needs, such as taking them to the store, going to a movie, helping them get dressed, bathe, do their hair, things that we take for granted that we can do every day.
Okay. And which of these services will be paid for by Medicare or Medicaid, and which ones will not?
Medicare does not pay for any home care services.
It does not.
It does not. They will pay for home health services, but they will not pay for home care.
Okay.
The difference with home care and home health are services you receive that comes with a licensed RN or LPN. They're providing services, skilled nursing, such as like wound care or any type of services where the doctor orders and they have to have it at home, or if they need drain care or just some type of care that requires a professional license. They won't pay for home care for a nursing assistant to help give you a bath or dressing.
Okay.
So those patients would need to have either purchased a long-term care insurance policy that has a home care line in it, or they will have to pay privately for home care services. Now, Medicaid state fund will pay for home care services if the person is applied and ordered by their doctor. So the doctor will have to make sure there's a need for home care services. Like that person could have a condition of some sort that would prohibit them from being able to give themselves a bath or get dressed, and the doctor will order home care services, and then Medicaid will do an assessment to make sure they qualify. And then that particular patient can reach out and say, I want first choice home care services to be my home care provider. And then my agency will send a nursing assistant out into the home to give those services with the hours that the doctor and Medicaid has agreed on.
Okay. So what percentage of your, I guess, patients that you're helping now are you being paid by Medicaid, because Medicare won't do it? And how many are private pay?
I have about 20% private pay. Private pay comes in waves. And then I have about 80% of Medicaid patients. And I also have some Medicare Advantage plans that pay for home care. Medicare Advantage plans is like a supplement to Medicare. So kind of like a icing cherry on top, where the family will opt to have the regular Medicare plus another insurance. Now, sometimes those insurance plans will have like an amount of money set aside for any type of home care, home health, and then they can say, oh, we want this agency to provide so many baths for mom, or so much time to help take mom to the grocery store. But generally, it's only a certain amount that can be allotted for home care.
Is that part of Medicare Part B? Because I think that's one you have to sign up for that.
That's the one you have to sign up.
Right. But that's not in it.
That's the federal government. They won't pay for any home care.
Okay, so it's not Medicare Part B. It's a separate Medicare plan.
It's an Advantage plan.
Advantage plan, okay. Mm-hmm. Which costs which is another plan you have to choose to pay for.
In addition to the
Part B that you have to have.
Exactly.
Boy, that's confusing.
Have family law questions? Need guidance to navigate legal challenges? The compassionate team at Breeden Law Office is here to help. Visit us at www.breedenfirm.com for practical advice, resources, or to book a consultation. Remember, when life gets messy, you don't have to face it alone.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm doing good though. I know more about it than most people, but I am a long way from an expert. But so, I mean, private pay, and I know every case is different, but I think people think when they hear private pay and they hear registered nurses that this is some crazy amount of money to get these services. But I don't think it's nearly as expensive as people think. So, people listening that don't have Medicaid, like a ballpark. I mean, I'm not saying what do you charge for this, but like, for just educational so people know, because there's a lot of home care agencies out there. I don't know what this stuff costs, but approximately what would people look to pay as a private payer if they're listening to this?
Private pay is generally based on what the patient needs, right? So like if the patient is still able to walk somewhat, still mobile, still able to give some assistance, then generally the rates can range anywhere from $30 to $50 per hour. Because what has to occur, you have to have someone that's licensed and trained in their medical, helping with their medical. You also have to have someone that is able to get to the patient, and you have to make it worth the agency's while. Like they have to at least be there 3 to 4 hours. So we can't say, oh, well, you can have an aide for 1 hour. It's going to be hard to find a staff member that can work a 1 hour shift. So you really want to keep in mind that most agencies do a 3 to 5 hour minimum. So that way the staff that's going out there, it will be worth their time to go. So if the patient is totally bedbound, can't really do anything for themselves, then that requires a higher level of care. Those aides need to be trained on like lifts, how to use equipment. They may have to drive the patient to doctor's appointments. So it comes with a little bit more risk, a little bit more insurance we have as an agency have to have for that service. And that can range anywhere from $40 to $60 per hour. So it can be pricey. But what I tell families, use it when you need to use it. Sometimes we can negotiate with the families and maybe have certain types of, like I can work with someone who's been in the business for maybe 20 years, but their license might have lapsed. So with that, I may could charge a little less. So there are ways we can work around the cost if we know what the needs are.
Okay. Well, that's good to know and something to consider. What differentiates First Choice from the other providers in the area?
And I'm glad you asked that question. So there are a lot of home care providers. It's a saturated field, right? But what differentiates me is I can take care of the sick patient and the well patient. I have resources. I can do the IV hydration for the kids, and I can take care of mama with the home care as well as the hydration. I feel like my business is unique because one, I grew up in Johnston County. I grew up in Coonsboro. For those of you who are real Johnston County people know exactly where that is. Selmapasem. Past Selma. So I grew up there, and I wanted to bring home care services with IV hydration to my town of Johnston County, Smithfield to be exact. And I think that's what's so unique about me is I'm not a big corporation coming trying to dominate the market. I'm a small hometown girl. I grew up here. I went to Triple S, and I think that's what's important. I've educated and I'm bringing my services and my gifts back to my hometown. So that's what makes me unique. I'm no different than any of the other nurses out there at the larger agencies, but this is home to me. So I want my business to have a hometown feel, and I want to give the services that are deserved to people in my community.
Right. Well, and you know your employees, you vet your employees right? Like you're not just sending anybody out
Oh
there.
my God, no.
Right. You're not just
employees-
running ad, right? You know these people. Sometimes I know you know some of their mamas and their grandmamas. Like this is
And
you're
I go to
getting
church.
good people, because some of these bigger companies just run an ad taking any CNA that signs up, but that's not what you're doing.
No, the first thing I do is do a criminal background check. Even if I know them, I still do a criminal background check. You don't know what people do in their house. Like, like we don't know what they're doing, if they're, got a record or anything. So I will run anybody through criminal record check. Then we do make sure they have a nursing assistant license. If they don't have a license, they go through extensive training to get a license. We try to sign them up to go to CNA school to get a license. We will work with them without a license, but they would have had to have had extensive training. Right. And then certain patients they can't work with because of the laws. Right. We also do an extensive in-house training with, I'm the RN. I generally do the orientation training. We have about 4 RNs on staff that go out with the CNAs and the PCAs to the home to make sure that they know how to service those patients, making sure they know how to use the Hoyer list, making sure they know how to use the bedside commodes, making sure they know how to change and turn and do all those intimate things you have to do to work with patients in their home. So we go through about a 2-week orientation process. They also have to take a book portion test to make sure they're educated, and they also have to be CPR certified.
Well, that's great. That's great. One of the services you provide that not all home health agencies provide is respite care. Talk a little bit about what that is and how you structure it.
Sure. We also do respite and infusion services. So we'll circle back to infusion in a minute so I can explain the difference there.
Okay.
Everybody needs a break, right? I need a break. You need a break. We all need a break. Sometimes when you're a caregiver, you can't get a break. So what my team does is we give you a chance to get a break. You want to go to Myrtle Beach for the weekend? That's fine. We'll take care of mama. Our staff will be there. We'll do 24-hour care, and we'll make sure you can get a break. Respite services is just that. It's not a long contract. It's only as is. We will introduce you to your aide. That aide will live in your home during that time while you are gone. Or if you need to bring mama to a hotel or somewhere, however we can work out the logistics, the aide will be with her, the whole time you're gone away. And you will have access to the office and the aide.
Well, that's really good. So what is this infusion services? I just assumed that was the same thing as the IV services, but obviously I'm wrong.
No, the infusion services and the IV hydration services are different in the fact that infusion services are paid for by insurance and by pharmacies. So there are certain types of cases where patients have to have infusions in the home and they're prescribed by a physician, and that physician or pharmacy would need a registered nurse team to deliver that medicine. These are patients who are like us. They working every day, they teaching, they going to school, but they may have a chemical deficit, or they may have an enzyme missing, or they may have a lung condition or something that prohibits them from, they have to have these infusions, but they still work a 9 to 5. But they can't afford to go to the infusion center, or they can't have the hour-long time to go to the infusion center, or they might be getting chemo and the chemo's 30 minutes, but they don't want to ask their boss for 2 hours off to go get chemo. So the hospital can just call me and say, hey, Tasha, can you do this service at their home? They can still go to work. I can do it after hours, and it's paid for by insurance. So that's the difference with infusion versus IV hydration.
All right. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. It sounds like you kind of covered the gambit there with all your different services. So how can people get in touch with you?
The easiest way to get in touch with me will be to call my office, 919-238-3551. We're open from 9 to 3, Monday through Friday. However, I will do appointments after 5 if need be, by appointment only. And you can also reach my website, www.jocohomecare.com or www.jocoivhydration.com. And you can also find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Okay, well, so you got that covered. So the last question we ask everybody on this podcast, what do you love most about Johnston County?
What do I love most about Johnston County? I'm gonna say the red hot dogs.
The red hot dogs. All right.
Nowhere else can you get a red hot dog.
The red hot dogs.
They're brown. Who does that?
Right.
I love the red hot dogs.
You love the red hot dogs. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we'd like to thank Natasha Armstrong of First Choice Home Care. I'm going to get the name right, and the infusion services as well, for being our guest on this week's episode of the Best of Johnston County podcast. Reach out to her at www.jocohomecare.com. And, you know, even if you don't have a need now, we all have aging parents, and the more we can educate ourselves now, the more we're going to know what our options are if and when we need Natasha and people like her services. So nothing wrong with educating yourself. She'd be glad to answer any of your questions, meet with you, tell you what your options are, talking about who pays for it, right? Like we talked about here today, the difference between Medicaid, Medicare, and Medicare Advantage and all that kind of stuff. Because if you don't know what your rights are, you gotta get what are your rights, right? You gotta know these things so that you know to be able to make the best decision for your parents. Oftentimes these are adult children like me, heading into that age. My parents are starting to get older, having to make these decisions. And I think it's important, which is one of the reasons I wanted to bring this episode to you. So like I said, would you please like, follow, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you see it, whether it's on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn, TikTok, or any of the other Best of Johnston County pages. Leave us a 5-star review down below. Tell us what you like, maybe what you dislike about the Best Johnston County podcast, and we'll be glad to try to make this podcast better. We appreciate all 5-star reviews. Tag us in your Instagram stories, Best of Johnston County. That'll help raise the awareness and the visibility of this podcast moving forward. Until next time, I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden.
That's the end of today's episode of Best of Johnston County, a show brought to you by the trusted team at Breeden Law Office. We thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to sharing more interesting facets of this community next week. Every story, every viewpoint adds another thread to the rich tapestry of Johnston County. If the legal aspects highlighted raise some questions, help is just around the corner at www.breedenfirm.com.